The next room for submission is my kind of room, tidiest room in the whole museum. No mess, everything matches perfectly. It's not a fitted carpet, it's a rug that just happens to fit into the room. What have you got to put into it, Simon?
John, I've got for you the perfect fit of the solar eclipse. I'm in deep water here. The other two people on this panel have written books about their subjects. I have read a book. Okay? I'm bringing in the bizarre degree to which natural objects match up in terms of sizes, specifically astronomical objects in this case. Starting out with the very simplest one, the extraordinary coincidence that the moon and the sun appear to be the same size in our sky to a very, very high degree of accuracy. But because the moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun and about 400 times nearer, they appear to be exactly the same size in the sky, which gives us the extraordinary phenomenon, of course, of the eclipse, which in itself is thought to have started all sorts of religion and belief in mysticism and so on. It's similar, if any of you remember it, to the scene in Father Ted, when Father Ted is attempting to explain to Father Dougal that this cow is small but close, and that cow is large but far away. But this is exactly what happens with the moon and the sun, and nobody takes the blind bit of notice of it.
What you're talking about is massive coincidences. Are you of the belief that they're of significance, or just that over time we've learnt so much that it would be weird if some things didn't sync up?
I don't find it significant, but I do find it oddly pleasing, and it's just a nice place to spend time. I don't think it proves there is a God, but I have to say if there were a God and he wanted to arrange the heavens to give us some clue that there was something going on, he couldn't have done a much better job than he did.
Of course, there's also the fact, though, that we don't notice the things that are not coincidences. So the fact that the moon and Jupiter are not exactly the same size or whatever.
Yeah, the trouble is...
we see the... Yeah,
no, I agree with all that.
But I agree, it's wonderful, yeah.
I absolutely love coincidences, and there's something very satisfying about them, aren't there, when you come across them. There is an interesting number in physics, which is 137. And it is really, really a mysterious number in physics. Several physicists, Wolfgang Pauli and Heisenberg, were both fascinated by this. And Richard Feynman, the Nobel Prize winner, used to say that it was such an important number that every physicist should have the number 137 written on their wall to remind them, your point, Michael, how little we actually know about anything. 1 over 137 is the value of something called the fine structure constant, sometimes called the DNA of light. It's so important. It connects light and the orbits of electrons. But get this, in the Kabbalah, the ancient Hebrew system of theology and mysticism, the two most important numbers are 137 and 26. In Hebrew numerology, they assign a number to each letter, and 137 is the numerical equivalent of Kabbalah, and 26 is the numerical equivalent of Jehovah or God. So for 5,000 years before Christ, somebody wrote this set of mystical goings-on, and then here it is in modern physics recurring. I found that pretty extraordinary.
And 26, isn't that the number of hyperdimensions which are required for string theory? In string theory,
it is absolutely, and that's very, very recent, that probably in the last 10 years.
10 to the 26th sand grains on Earth, too.
You're joking.
No.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Try this one. This is from The Independent. This is really spooky. The magazine Police, which is the trade magazine for the police, reported that a suspicious-looking cardboard box had been found outside a territorial army centre in Bristol. The TA called the police, who called an army bomb disposal unit, which blew the box up, to discover that it was full of leaflets on how to deal with suspicious-looking packages. Are we going to have this in the museum?
As someone who was born on the 26th of the 137th month of the year, I think whether you agree that they happen for a reason or not, they're fascinating when they happen. So I think we put them in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Evans. Right, so another successful acquisitions round, Mr. Curator. We've got a choir made entirely of sand, the world's first truly modern man, and a gigantic coincidence in the sky. My thanks to Simon, Sarah and Michael for helping us to demonstrate Michel de Montaigne's idea that the only thing certain is that nothing is certain. And we can't even be certain of that. Goodbye.
The Museum of Curiosity was curated by John Lloyd and John Richardson, with research by QI's James Harkin and Molly Oldfield. The exhibits were kindly donated by Simon Evans, Sarah Bakewell and Michael Welland, and the producers of Curiosity were Richard Turner and Dan Schreiber.